we 4X the business and we're way more profitable than we were because if you can navigate people through those issues, you create the only thing that you really need, which is trust.
You're listening to the Endless Customers podcast, brought to you by the team at Impact. Endless Customers is the proven system to become the most known and trusted brand in your market. If you want to start to learn the principles of Endless Customers and how you can implement them in your business, pick up a copy of Endless Customers, a national bestseller wherever books are sold. Ready to start implementing Endless Customers in your business? Talk to Impact about how our coaching program can help you implement Endless Customers to success. And if you want to experience Endless Customers in person, do not miss our upcoming conference, Endless Customers Live, in Chicago, March 30th through April 1st, 2026. Registration is now open. And now, onto the show. Here's your host, Alex Winter.
Today's episode demonstrates what's possible when a company stops doing what everyone else does and starts providing buyers with exactly what they need to make informed decisions. We're joined by Steve Sheinkopf. He's the CEO of Yale Appliance. Steve transformed a single store, $37 million appliance retailer into a $100+ million 6-location market leader by answering buyer questions. He and his team published hundreds of articles and videos that answered every buyer question, even the ones retailers wouldn't touch. In this conversation, we'll break down how Steve built a content-driven approach that earned his market's trust, why radical transparency can actually grow your business, and how taking bold risks in sharing information helped Yale become one of the most known and trusted brands in the appliance industry. So if you're trying to stand out in a crowded market, grow trust with buyers, or figure out how to turn your team's expertise into content that drives revenue, this episode is packed with lessons that you can use. Steve, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Alex.
Thanks for being on here. We were just talking before we started recording. This is your first time on the podcast. Is that right?
First time, man. I don't
know how that's possible. I'm so glad you're here. You have such a long-standing history with Impact and with Endless Customers. Previously, They Ask You Answer. You have such an incredible story. And actually, a little Easter egg, one of my first real times filming with Impact and the first case study I ever filmed for Impact was at Yale Appliance with Steve. So it was...
oh, really?
Yeah, I think it was like
How long ago was that?
7 years ago.
God.
I know, right?
Time flies, don't it?
Time is flying, especially when you're having fun, which we are. So before we talk shop, can you just set the stage for our audience, for our listeners and our viewers? Sure. What is Yale Appliance? Tell people a little bit about yourself and the company.
Sure. Yale's been around it'll be going on 103 years.
Wow.
103. 1923 was started. And my grandfather actually bought into it in 1932. Look up your history books. It's probably not the best time to buy into it was electrical supplies back then. Okay. We moved around a bunch, and my dad moved us in 1984 to Dorchester, which at that time was probably like not the best place. It was not yet gentrified, to put politely. And, we've grown the company. We have 6 locations now. We actually have a store in Nantucket, which is unbelievable to me. Some of it certainly is what we're going to talk about today. And we've got a really good team, which is a lot of it as well. And, we're looking to certainly grow in other markets.
Absolutely. Wow. And incredible history to buy into the company during the Great Depression, which you couldn't rub 2 pennies together, to fast forward 100+ years to today. It's what a journey. That's incredible. So let's kick things off. Yeah, let's kick things. Can we talk a little bit about what was happening before reading They Ask You Answer, before learning about Endless Customers and the system and implementing everything that you've had? What struggles were you facing as a business owner, and just trying to drive Yale into new markets and to grow the business and scale?
Or even grow the business. We started blogging in 2007. I went to a convention called M Planet, which was way ahead of its time. Nothing like Impact, but it talked about social media for the first time. It was the first time I heard those words 22 years ago. And so we did it, but really before then, you had to buy expensive media, whether it was radio or TV, and over time, we had these quirky little radio commercials, but over time, you just wouldn't get the ROI. Not that you could. I mean, if you were advertising the radio or TV as a traditional kind of retail or anything, not like a Coca-Cola or something that's trying to get endless demand. Is, for us, we're looking for someone who's looking for appliances at that particular time when we're advertising. Numbers just don't add up. And like everything else, we had a voice and identity problem. How do we get out there as a viable solution, as a viable alternative to, back then was Sears, if you can believe it, or Home Depot, Lowe's, or any of the other 63 competitors we have in a 25-mile radius. So that was the problem. And I think that's a if you're not into kind of like the whole they ask you answer, that's still a problem that you find today, is like, if you don't do this, then you've got a way big ad spend that you're not getting an ROI on. And it still goes on today. It's the same problem that faces small business, even almost 20 years later from when we started.
Yeah, it's so true. And I actually come out of traditional advertising before I got into digital marketing and what I do today. And what you're saying resonates with me, because that was the way to do it. If you weren't sure, you're a business owner and you're not really savvy with marketing or social or any of this stuff, it's like, let's buy some TV ads, let's do some billboards. And you spend a lot of money and you don't really have any proof or real data to see like if it's working or how it's working or what the ROI is. And it can be super frustrating.
And everything's a rental.
Right.
As soon as the contract goes on the billboard, as soon as the ad, we used to advertise in the Globe when I first started, and they didn't think the ads were high end enough, so they put us into another section. But you could see just like, readership was down, listenership is down, and then you got to catch a person at the right moment. We always thought that if the path to purchase is online, that's where we wanted to be.
That makes sense.
And it hasn't changed.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the tactics have, whether you're doing LinkedIn or TikTok or Instagram, but the tactics haven't changed from 20 years ago.
Yeah. So you said it was about 2007. You were starting to blog a little bit. What made you realize? Because when you're purchasing appliances, most people, myself included, I want to go. It's tangible. I want to go open the ovens and play with the fridges. Like I want to see these things and touch these things. So how did you bridge those gaps into like focusing on blogging and creating content that would help start to build trust and educate buyers so that they would come in and talk to your sales folks and start to have that experience?
Well, it's really interesting, because I looked at blogging as an art form from like 2007 to 2011. So I wrote kind of stream of consciousness, but good stuff, but kind of, and really the turning point for me was, and I'll never forget Pat, who's still our CMO today, said, you got to write a blog article. We're missing one for this week. And I was in the middle of something and I wrote best counter depth refrigerators, and the thing blew up, right? We were getting, 200, 300, 400 views at one time. And this thing was in its tens of thousands, 50, 60,000. And I had no idea why, because what I had touched upon was a long tail keyword, which at that time nobody owned. And everybody wanted to know what was the best counter depth refrigerator. So having no idea what I had just done, I met a friend of yours, Marcus Sheridan, and I'll tell you, I thought I would teach him something because I had been blogging for 4 years, and it was some of the most uncomfortable kind of conversations I ever had. He said, "It's not an art form; it's a business." I go. He asked me all the questions like, "Why isn't your audience growing?" And I said, "Well, people, people buy homes and they sell homes. There's no reason for us to be on the blog." And I gave really good answers. And then he goes, "Look, I sell pools for a living." And he showed me his charts. It was like a hockey stick. And I'm like, oh my God. And he put me through hell, man. I mean, the first activity was retitling 100 blog posts. And back then I didn't know what I was doing. It took me, this is way before AI or even before I knew what I was doing. It took me almost 7 hours to do 100.
Wow. Yeah, that's a lot of blogs to go through. Mm-hmm.
But it took off. It really took off after that.
What do you think the conversation with Marcus, you said that it was tough. There were some hard truths in there. How did that shift your perspective on like, okay, I have to retitle these things. I have to look at this as more of a business instead of an art form. Like, how did that shape your approach going forward for you and for Pat and the rest of the marketing team?
Yeah. Great question. You have to, we were always good at like looking, our stores were set up to be customer friendly and customer focused.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what you have to do when you blog. It's not about what you say, it's about what customers think. So basically you turn what you did and you do a 180. So now you're talking about what their issues are, what their problems are. What is the best? How do you compare? What are the problems? That's a really good one. When you talk about problems in your industry, then you become trusted because everybody knows there's problems. It's like, you're not going to be perfect in your Google reviews. You're not going to, every industry has its issues.
Mm-hmm.
If you can navigate people through through those issues, you create the only thing that you really need, which is trust and an attempt and someone to give you a shot at their business. That's really marketing's thing, is to basically hand that customer who trusts you to a salesperson that knows what they're doing.
Absolutely.
And a lot of other stuff that nobody talks about, like shortening sales cycles. I'm not here to like shorten it where I'm just like, you walk in and, we grab you by the ankles and take your money. It's like the more questions that I can answer for them out there, the less problems and the less buyer remorse they may have when they walk into the store, because they're now, instead of having 3 times it takes to get someone to buy, it's maybe 1, right? And that changes everything. Shorten the sales cycle. You don't have to staff up as much. It works on so many levels that nobody goes into, really.
Yeah, no, it really does. I think a lot of people think that sales, the more, it's just numbers. It's like the more volume, the more numbers we can pull in, the better chance we have of closing. And I really like what you're saying about shortening this sales cycle and getting strategic with building trust and building buyer education beforehand, so that when someone comes in, they feel confident and they don't feel like they're going to have buyer's remorse. And listen, everything doesn't always go to plan when you're buying and making purchases and interacting with, when it comes to business, but it's how you handle that business. So even to have the reassurance of like, hey, we have these warranties, or hey, we're here to take care of you and we're not just going to sell you something and then kick you to the curb, like that's so important. And you guys have mastered that and have really listened to your clients. So how does that affect your content engine? Like what does that look like today for you guys? How many blogs you're doing? What's the social media mix? How does that affect your content on a daily or weekly basis?
Good question. What we try to publish, and it changes. It's changed with the rise of the LLMs. We've kind of diversified, but typically we'll write 3 extensive blogs per week.
Mm-hmm.
We'll publish 3 videos a week. We'll do a couple short form videos. I don't know how Pat has that structure, whether it's 1 or 2. So we're going to be on YouTube at least 3 to 4 times, blog 3 times. We'll update buyer's guides. Last year we got into TikTok, which I thought was really interesting. All it is really short form video. Mm-hmm. And the thing with TikTok is, in 6 months, we've gotten about 9 million views, but you're not sure. The other thing is, the danger you have is following vanity metrics. I mean, would you rather have 9 million viewers or 900 customers that come in from what it is you're doing? So we have to localize. We've done a much better job localizing content, because for me, I don't ship out of my market. So it's not really important what people in Michigan and California think, although it's California. We probably have as many readers in California as we do in Massachusetts. So if you're a local person, like a plumber, electrician, appliance store, you want to localize that content, then it even becomes better.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I admire you. And this is, again, one of my first real stories capturing your journey with this system. And with the coaching program here at Impact, it was eye-opening for me because you had such success with it. But I also really admired that you don't hold back, in the sense that when you talk about brutal honesty and transparency, you don't mess around with that, Steve. Like, I would love for you to tell the story about how there was one blog or one article that you did, and it talks about the most service, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's like the most serviced appliances that happen throughout the different manufacturers. And it had a huge impact for the business and just for engagement with your content.
Well, the other thing is, you need to have good operations to have good marketing.
Okay.
Like if you're a plumber that causes water leaks, probably blogging is not the first is not the first thing you should do. You should probably figure out that first.
Okay.
So with that in mind, if you've got something unique, you talk about that, and you want customers to understand that, right? Mm-hmm. So if you do something unique, like a better delivery or better install, or this is something you should look out for, which you absolutely should. But in terms of service, yeah, we talk about how this stuff breaks down, what the percentage of it does, which brands break down less than the others. We've softened the blow a little bit over the years, only because we only carry 19 brands. Like the average appliance store will carry 75 because they don't service what they sell. So what's the difference, right? That's a rather tough article for some manufacturers to swallow, no question about it.
Yeah, but I love it, and I think it's definitely a unique positioning for you. And I like what you said. No matter what industry or business or market that you're in, you have to find your unique selling proposition, and that's the best way to disrupt, is to figure out what that is, clearly define it, and then lean into it hard and not be afraid to stake your claim.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, you want to what's the pixie dust?
Yes. Sprinkle.
You want to sprinkle a little bit of your USPs and some of the things. Like, we think service is important. Buyers think service is important. So you mention that as part of your articles and your videos, that this is something you should look out for, whether you buy from us or somewhere else. Mm-hmm. Of what the perils of not having it is, and who has it. I mentioned some of my competitors that have it. So that sort of thing. You want to interdisperse some of your USPs throughout your content.
Absolutely. Yeah. I just liked how honest you were in that, in those moments of, like, people are looking for price. People are looking for the most service appliances, because they don't want to buy. I don't want to buy a dishwasher that's going to break on me 6 months after I buy it, or is going to cost me all this extra money. So when you pull the veil back, what was it like having these manufacturers? Like, did you hear from certain manufacturers that were like, "Hey, you're making us look bad," or like, what was that story like for you, and kind of navigating that piece of it? Were you expecting that to happen?
Somewhat. We don't make them. We don't make
right.
it. We actually just report about what happens when it's in the field. Now, the good ones will say, "Okay, this is what's happening. Maybe we can re-engineer it back to the consumer." Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, I think it's good for the industry. It creates trust. And, when there's a story to tell, like, a few years ago, there was a batch of frozen valves from a Miele dishwasher. This is like 5, 6 ago. You mentioned that as a one-off. So you give them some of their dignity back, but you mention all that stuff. You guys are really smart about these claims that people are so hesitant to say, right? I'll never forget going to a webinar, and everyone is like saying, we can't talk about our prices. And, I remember Marcus, or it was Bob, saying, well, do your competitors know already? And the answer is yes. So what are you worried about? The fact that they know. Right. If you explain it in such a way, I mean, I think consumers want less friction, more trust. And that's what we're looking to do in marketing, pretty much.
Yeah. Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And you do that exceptionally well at Yale. So can you talk a little bit, you've mentioned Marcus, you mentioned the webinar there a little bit. What was it like working with Impact? I know you're on a long-standing journey with endless customers, but back when you were in the coaching program, what was the value for you and your team, and then coming back to these webinars? And we see you at the events every year. So why do you keep coming back and engaging, and what does that do for you as far as carrying you through your journey and keeping consistent with the content you're putting out?
Well, something nobody knows at all. And you have to, I hate using these marketing terms like sharpen the saw and everything, but you got to get out of your head every once in a while, right? There's always another way. There's always something to try. I think you guys are good because you keep the fingers on the pulse of like what's happening everywhere, what works everywhere. And I'm always finding like little tidbits of, how to use AI and that was the last webinar. Back in the early days, I think Marcus was key in helping us, with that first push into what we do now. I mean, the big five hasn't changed with impact. Your tactics have, and we're always trying to learn that next tactic to make us better.
No, absolutely. It's you just saying that really just reinforced for me that the big five, the selling seven, the fundamentals of endless customers, they haven't changed in 7-8 years. The market has changed, the technology has changed, and you do have to shift with those things to keep your finger on the pulse, as you say.
No question.
But the fundamentals they're fundamentals for a reason. They're the pillars. That's never going to change. So I think it's adapting and learning some of these new tech pieces. Like how is the AI journey been for you, and how has that been shaping what you guys have been up to lately? Because
it's great. I think AI is a wonderful opportunity, and everyone says, "Well, I'm going to lose my job," this, that, and the other thing. I honestly believe you're going to lose your job to somebody who really knows how to do AI.
I agree.
Right?
Yep, I agree.
I mean, you get a true collaborative partner, but it's like anything else. You get handed a guitar, like the guitar I see right there. It doesn't make you Eric Clapton until you play, right? Until you play hours and hours and hours. I think that if you were to say, write me a blog about appliances, we'd all agree it'd be crap. So you've got to really work with AI. I mean, the fundamentals of who you are, your unique selling propositions, how you go to market, and everything else is uniquely you. And you've got to infuse AI in that to save some more time so you can do other things, so you can create better content, create more content, whatever it have be, or create a better content, or create the same amount and have a life outside of work. Whatever it is, AI can help you with it. But it is not going to replace humanity. That's I'm sure of. I mean, you look at if we each wrote a piece on something, it'd all come out differently based on our perspective. And that's what AI needs. Because without it, AI is just some vanilla sounding robot that has got some pretty hackneyed cliches, right?
Yes.
So you got to work with AI and make it better. You got to understand what projects are. I'm a ChatGPT guy, but I'm beginning like Gemini a lot.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of stuff you can do. It's going to make the really great players even better. And it's going to make a lot of really bad content that is going to people aren't going to trust that content. It's going to reverse what you actually should be doing.
See, that's an important piece that you just said there. And I think that's something to just focus on for a second, that you can't just use GPT, Gemini, Claude, whatever tool you're using, because they're all varying degrees of similarity. But your unique selling proposition, your perspective, your experience, that's the differentiator. And it makes it not vanilla. It helps build that trust because you have that experience. So you have to lean into that. You can use these tools to make it faster or help you get there quicker or leverage it in a certain way. But ultimately, you're not going to build trust by just putting something in GPT, letting it spit something out and posting it. You really have to put more time and effort into that. And the ones that are going to win are the ones that are going to take advantage of AI and learn it, just like anything else, practice, right?
Yeah, it's practice, and AI can help you get seated better. I mean, ask Gemini how will this title do on YouTube, because they own YouTube. I think they'd give you a better idea. You ask ChatGPT, how do I show up? How does the blog show up in search? Right? Mm-hmm. How does it show up with the LLMs? And then you can create content with LLM by asking. There's all sorts of stuff you can do that's really that'll make great content even better, and you'll be able to be found better. I mean, our blog is growing in a time when blogs aren't growing, right? I mean, because we understand what the LLMs want, we now understand what Google wants by asking them, right?
Yeah. Sometimes that's the beauty of this is people overthink it, myself included. All you have to do is ask. I forget sometimes that all you need to do is just say, hey, how's this gonna work on YouTube? How's this title for SEO purposes? How's this gonna work? It's fascinating. Sometimes you overlook those things and you get right into the weeds, and sometimes you need to step back. I definitely agree with you there. Yeah.
But you know what it is? It's like anything else. You got to put the work in, and that's the hard part.
Yeah,
So
totally.
you got to do the research. You got to understand what projects are. You know what ChatGPT is, what Google LLM is. You know, I'm trying to create images now using Midjourney.
Midjourney's great.
Hey,
Yeah, that's fun.
I love. I wish I had more time on it, man.
Yeah.
I create images. You know, every week we have. We go to NRF every year, and last year NVIDIA sponsored it, and they really rolled out AI in a big way. So we said we were going to do an AI meeting every Friday, optional, and me and a couple other guys lead it. So you try all these different tools. It's kind of fun. I wish I had more time. But
That's great. Yeah, and that's something that Bob and Marcus and leadership here at Impact really pushed upon us as well. It wasn't like a mandatory thing, but it was definitely a very openness and willingness to try AI, learn about AI. Let's meet about it. Let's talk about it. It was welcomed with open arms here versus I think a lot of people try to shy away from it or are scared from it. And I think that's the wrong approach. So it's cool to hear that you're doing that. Yeah.
I think it's really the wrong approach. You can't swim against history.
That's right.
You know, you can't swim against history. It's like the same thing in 1995, the internet came along and, the people scoffed at that. I mean, where are they now? Right.
Yeah.
It's just you either adapt or it's almost Darwinian.
It is.
You either adapt or die, in a mental sense,
Basically. Yeah. Basically. So let's talk a little bit. I want to just kind of paint the picture for people who maybe don't know your story.
Mm-hmm.
Once you started the journey, you met Marcus, you started working with Impact, you're implementing this system. How did your company grow? Like I think you said it was around 2007. From 2007 to today, like, can you just kind of paint that picture for people just so they can get inspired and hear?
Sure, absolutely. First of all, marketing, marketing is, I call it almost a three-legged stool. You need good operations, right? You need good sales and support, and then you need good marketing. Without the other two, I mean, marketing, there's a company that I know that has got great marketing and just awful operations. So it's like launching a missile into your own base, And so you need to get the first two straight, and then marketing, is an accelerant, right? But to give you an idea, when all three worked together, we had, let's say 2011, because 2007-11, I was in the larval stages of content, shall we say.
Sure. And the economy too back then from 07 to like 10 was
awful.
Yeah, we won't talk about that. Let's just we'll go right over that part.
Yeah, that was just crazy back then. That was just, you couldn't buy a piece of property because the banks owned them, but whatever. Anyway, but from 2011 to 2025, in 14 years, we 4X'd the business. We have 6 stores instead of one, and we're way more profitable than we were because guess what? The other gem to content is you don't have to spend a lot of money marketing. So if you take 3% of sales, which is the normal appliance store spend, and you get it down to like less than 0.2%, you get a lot of money to do other things, whether it's we do 401k matching and we do bonuses and all that other stuff that would be basically non-ROI marketing is what I like to call it. Maybe some of it would work, but most of it wouldn't. Mm-hmm. So that's what it can do, provided you have your organization together. This stuff would be great for a startup, videos and blog posts and sending targeted videos to prospects. I think it's really the way to accelerate a great business forward. Yeah. And again, we have 63 competitors and our fridges aren't any different than anybody else's. So we have online. You may have heard of some of these brands: Home Depot, Lowe's, Best Buy. And we've
Sure.
got like the highest concentration of other dealers. The highest concentration of appliance dealers, I think, in the country are in New England. So,
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
boy, I know.
And you're still 4Xing your business over that time period. That's incredible. And shortening sales cycles and having a lot of ROI in what you're doing. I'm just very impressed with all of that. So I think my last question for you here is, where do you see this?
It's 5X.
Oh, it's 5X. Oh, wow. Excuse me.
Just calculated.
5X. 5X.
Yeah,
6 stores from 1 store to 6 stores. I mean, that's the dream. And I couldn't be happening to better people. So excited for you guys. Yeah. And just, I'm curious, where do you see this taking you in the future? So it's 2026. Where are you seeing this taking you? And how is Endless Customers going to continue to play into your journey as you move forward and into the year?
Endless Customers is going to morph the same way I am, because things do change. Where there'll be new tactics that we'll both learn, you first, then me. I see us as growing out of Massachusetts into New Hampshire first, maybe into Rhode Island, perhaps into Maine, and then maybe into Connecticut. And at that time, I will have aged out, probably. Well, most definitely. But for the next people, it's the opportunity, because we have to acquire customers. It's inexpensive. We've got people walking in, people giving us phone calls that our competitors aren't getting, because they don't embrace this philosophy of they ask, you answer, Endless Customers, or whatever the new brand will be. And I think it's a real problem for them. It's kind of like, if you didn't start, if you're not starting, if you're not planning, then you're beholden to people that will. It's that simple.
Yeah, that's a great takeaway. If you don't do it, somebody else is going to. And I feel like I've heard Marcus say that time and time again, and it's so true. It's you either take the bull by the horns or you get left in the dust. And that's true for AI. That's true for Endless Customers. That's true for business.
And a lot of industries don't have a company that's doing that yet. And really, for the new people, that's the opportunity, because most industries still don't do it, right? I would imagine. I mean, you guys must bang your heads against the proverbial wall saying it can work. It just requires effort. And you've got new tools that can help you. So it's not like 2007, we're all struggling to figure it out. It's been figured out. Whether you do it or not, whether you put the effort into it or not, is really the only question.
Absolutely. No, it's so true. And we do find that a struggle, but a lot of people are specialists. You're in the appliance game. We have a lot of people that are in home renovation, roofing, that type of stuff, where they're exceptionally good at what they do, but then they almost kind of put the marketing piece in a bucket, because they're like, I don't know how to shoot videos, and I don't know how to, and it's not true. It's not true anymore. It's easier than ever to do it. You just have to be open-minded. And then I think also having a coach or a partner to help you stay accountable.
Yeah, it's such a cheap investment. I mean, you have a choice of either buying expensive media or losing your business to an unqualified competitor that's cheaper. And then it's a race to the bottom. And because customers don't know what it is you do, right? If you don't tell them in a demonstrative way, you lose to less qualified competitors. You lose them to box stores and horrible places to shop. Not saying box stores aren't, just saying horrible places to shop, because you didn't tell your story. That's the real problem.
That's well said. Yeah. All right. Well, this has been an amazing conversation. I love chatting with you. We always have such
it's always a lot of fun with you guys. What you guys have done is it's not a slingshot with David anymore. You put a cannon into anybody's hands that want to light the fuse. So congratulations to you guys. And, obviously I'll be around, and, thanks for everything.
Thank you for telling your story. Thank you for being on the show today. And also congratulations on all your success. I love you guys and the team, and Pat and everybody over at Yale Appliance. And if you haven't heard about Yale Appliance, or if you're looking for appliances, you got to go check them out. They're just A+.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you too, Steve. And for everybody out there watching and listening, I hope you enjoy the show. This is Endless Customers. I'm your host, Alex Winter, and we will see you on the next episode.